very good evening. You're watching the Brass Tacks with me, Akanksha Swaroop. As Hindus face attacks in Bangladesh, Mohammad Yunus is losing control. This as the Jamatis and radicals are running amok. In fact, after the killing of Usman Hadi, another youth leader has been shot. Mohammad Mutaleb Sikdar, who belongs to the NCP's Labour wing, was shot in Khulna today. Sikdar is believed to be in a critical condition, raising the question if the Yunus regime will again pin the blame of yet another shooting on India. Clearly, Dhaka is scapegoating New Delhi. We'll tell you why. To begin with, Bangladesh's Additional Inspector General Police has warned against speculation surrounding the location of Hadi's killer, meaning they have admitted that there's no credible evidence to establish that Hadi's killer is in India. Moreover, BNP's veteran politician Nilofer Chaudhry Moni has dropped a bombshell revelation. What is it? Moni has alleged that a senior Jamaat-e-Islami leader and prominent lawyer Shishir Manir had twice secured bail for Hadi's alleged killer. Now remember, this contradicts earlier reports that claim that Hadi's killer was associated only with the student wing of the Awami League, that is the Bangladesh Chhatra League. In fact, Moni has claimed that the suspected shooter had links to multiple political groups. That includes the Jamaat circle as well. Raising the question, was Hadi killed by the Jamatis and not the Awami League as was being claimed earlier? And who stands to gain by wiping out these youth leaders? These very youth leaders who ousted Sheikh Hasina in August of 2024. Meanwhile, New Delhi has rejected what it calls misleading propaganda over a protest outside the Bangladesh High Commission. India's MEA has clarified that the protest was a brief gathering against the lynching of Hindu man Deepu Chandra Das. But Dhaka has termed the protest unjustifiable, stating that Deepu's killing was an isolated incident. Again, no concrete action against the violence perpetrated against the Hindus in Bangladesh. Also, Dhaka University has renamed Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman Hall to Usman Hadi Hall, a decision critics say elevates the anti-India sentiment. Importantly, intel sources have revealed to CNN News 18 that Pakistan and Bangladesh are working on a mutual defense agreement. That defense agreement will be similar to scope to Pakistan's defense cooperation arrangements with Saudi Arabia, meaning Pakistan will now cover training, capacity building and professional exchanges for Bangladesh's strategic development. So viewers, what bearing will this new axis have on New Delhi? This when there's limited democracy, Islamization of polity and external power politics at play. Tonight on Brass Tacks, let's interrogate the political crisis in Bangladesh. To begin with, the radical reset in Dhaka is underway in full swing. Here's how. Islamist leader and India-hating Usman Hadi has been tagged as a martyr, a shaheed by Yunus. He was accorded full state honours on the weekend and National Mourning Day was announced following his death. He was buried near national poet Nazrul, further boosting his radical status. Not just that, there's full public display of ISIS flags, enticing youth towards extremism. Jihadi chants are raised as a means to reinforce extremism and unite radicals. Jamaat-e-Islami linked network groups are running amok in Dhaka as we speak, and the attacks on Hindus and minorities proof enough of the rising impunity for radicals, an attack that's been taking place since August of 2024. Anti-India hatred is on the rise in Dhaka, and top intel sources have informed us of a third front against India that's already in the making. In a CNN News 18 exclusive news break, we've learned that Bangladesh is eyeing a Saudi-style pact with Pakistan. So Pakistan and Bangladesh will be working on mutual defense agreement. The proposal has already been discussed at top diplomatic military levels. Joint mechanism has been formed to draft agreement as Dhaka's military is keen on a strategic defense pact. Multiple rounds of military level talks have been held and Army, Air Force, Navy chiefs of both nations have met repeatedly. Several military MOUs have already been signed. The draft is likely after Bangladesh general elections to be taking place. Now, this entire reset in ties is taking place rapidly after Sheikh Hasina's ouster. We are also learning that Pakistan is in talks with 8 countries on similar pacts. What bearing will this have on New Delhi? Let's deep dive, and for that, let me introduce my guests today. I'm joined in by Ambassador Veena Sikri, who's a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow at ORF, Dr. Mohsin Ali, a renowned freedom fighter of Bangladesh in 1971. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. And I'm also joined in by Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhry, a renowned Bangladesh journalist. Thank you so much to all of you for joining in. Dr. Mohsin Ali, if I may begin with you, I think you're the best person to comment on the kind of Islamization we are seeing. Much credit is offered to Sheikh Hasina for cracking down on the hardliners, especially the ones who were also in the opposition. But was enough done? What explains the sudden burst of these hardliners now running amok?
Yeah, hi, good morning from New York. Thank you very much for inviting me into your program. Yes, we know what is going on in Bangladesh now, and Sheikh Hasina was the right person to run Bangladesh situation. And during her tenure, and from 2009 to 2024 middle, so there is no Islamization, there is no terrorism. There are some occasional terrorism, but Sheikh Hasina fixed all those, and Bangladesh was enjoying the golden period, golden time during her regime and during her rule. And Bangladesh has got tremendous development during her time that Bangladesh never saw before. But after her ousted, you know, for last about 15 months, 16 months, Bangladesh is going down all the way to the Pakistan level. And Pakistan is very deeply involved in Bangladesh from middle of last year, because they want Bangladesh into back into the Pakistani fold, like as East Pakistan or a confederation with Pakistan, because Pakistan wanted another front against India, so that Pakistan can fight out India from east and from west, both sides. That's why they're making this the military pact, like Saudi Arabia that you just explained. And these militants are trained by India, trained by Pakistan, because the IS style, the Khilafat style government they want to install in Bangladesh under the leadership of Jamaat Islami. And there are a lot of the militant groups in Bangladesh, and all are under Jamaat Islami. And Jamaat Islami wanted to occupy Bangladesh, and in fact, they occupied the Bangladesh. And Dr. Yunus is just the puppet of their ideology. Although Dr. Yunus is a well-renowned person, but he's a puppet of Pakistan. So this is how the terrorists are like developed in Bangladesh under the leadership of Jamaat Islami. They secretly, that as they describe that is a meticulous design. They have been training for over last 53 years since the Bangladesh was liberated with the help of India.
So, Shoaib, if I may quickly bring you in on that point that Dr. Mohsin has just now raised, do you think that they were always dominant? They never went away, these dark forces, so to say, whether it is Hafazat-e-Islami or the Jamaatis, they were always perhaps operating, and so was the ISI through these Jamaatis, and maybe, just maybe, Sheikh Hasina's crackdown on these militant organizations also helped them to unite together, because remember, that is also what ensured the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. Yet one wonders, why are student leaders now being attacked and targeted, when it was these very student leaders that helped them to ensure that Sheikh Hasina is sent out of the country?
Thank you very much, Akanksha. Please allow me to tell the truth. Since 1971, I mean the independence of Bangladesh, each and every government, including that of Sheikh Hasina, has this way or that way appeased Islamists and upheld political Islam. Now, when we are talking about Sheikh Hasina's government, she has definitely fought for terrorism, militancy in one hand, and she has patronized Hafazat-e-Islam, which does not believe in democracy, which promotes caliphate rule. Sheikh Hasina was at the utmost promoter of the Gaza madness, the anti-Israel madness, chanting slogans in favor of Palestine on the streets of Bangladesh, and even passing very much unacceptable anti-Semitic remarks targeting Jews. So this is absolutely has to be taken into account that Sheikh Hasina has done tremendous good things in this country in economic development. Sheikh Hasina has done tremendous good things in improving relations with India, no doubt. But she has also tried to improve relations with Pakistan, with China, which is very double standard on the first hand. Secondly, I mean, Bangladesh being a country of the Bengalis, we should follow uphold our secularist principle, and secularist principle does not allow us in following the madness of Arabs like Palestine and Gaza and whatever. So what we are seeing today is very unfortunate, very scary, but this is the result of the blunders committed by all the governments since 1971.
I'm actually taken back to the memories of how it was always called the Bengali nationalism back in 1971 and not so much about Bangladeshi nationalism. But if I may quickly bring in Ambassador Sikri on that note. Ambassador Sikri, there's a lot of chatter here in India if India's responses, have they been are you satisfied with India's response, especially when it comes to this unabated attack on minorities that's been taking place in these bouts of violence that we are seeing? Yes, I'm again going to have to refer to that parliamentary committee report chaired by Dr. Tharoor, which says that internal matters of Bangladesh should be left as internal matters. But what about the Hindus or the minorities? That includes the Christians, the Buddhists too.
You know, I think right from day one, when Sheikh Hasina left Bangladesh on 5th of August, and the attack on the minorities was the very first thing that was undertaken. Her plane had hardly left the country, and you had this vicious attack on all the minorities. So much so that when Prime Minister Modi sent his first message to Mohammed Yunus, message of felicitation, in that very message he mentioned about his concern about the condition of the minorities in Bangladesh. So there has been this huge attack, and India has taken it up right front. So I think the first thing is that India has also said that we will wait for the election results. And having said that, and saying that we will have substantive discussions with an elected government. But having said that, we also said that we want and we insist on free, fair, inclusive and participatory elections in order for them to be credible. Now, this is not a question of interference. This is a question of wanting a prosperous, democratic and stable Bangladesh. I think that we know, in all our good neighborly relations, what our countries say about each other. We know what the Western countries are saying about, Bangladesh and so on. So I think there's no question of interference here in anyone's internal affairs. We have said quite clearly that we don't accept that. But we have said at the same time that because we have a 4,000-kilometer long border with Bangladesh, anything happening within Bangladesh has a direct impact on the stability and security of the border and on what is happening in India. The security repercussions of what is happening in Bangladesh, of whipping up the anti-Indian rhetoric, of trying to take every measure to bring an Islamist government to power, to talk about a caliphate, to talk about, having Sharia law in Bangladesh, and what that would mean for the security and stability of our bordering areas and of the relationship with Bangladesh. We are all very aware of that. So Indian government has been exercise a lot of strategic restraint in what they are doing, but they are following the situation very carefully, and I think they will.
Quickly, before I go across to Sushant, do you think that this strategic restraint that in diplomacy would also be, of course, it can be called strategic restraint, but could this backfire given that so far we've only been giving clarifications about why that protest took place outside the Bangladesh High Commission? Yes, we are in a position of wait and watch, as you rightly highlighted. Much also depends on, say, the election results, our call for a free and fair election, notwithstanding the fact that Awami League is banned and you have Sheikh Hasina on Indian soil. Ambassador Sikri, I'd like your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. No, I think absolutely. I think that we are quite within our rights to do that because I think see the situation, how it's developed in the last 18 months. All right, in July, August last year, maybe there was a strong anti-incumbency feeling against Sheikh Hasina. And if, as an interim regime is mandated, although when the interim regime was sworn in, it was on a constitution that had no provision for an interim regime, but still the mandate, if you consider it, is for 90 days, hold elections, no reform. The regime of Muhammad Yunus has violated every condition. They have brought in Islamists. You're showing on your visuals of the flag of the ISIS shown above the Bangladesh flag.
Right.
I mean, absolutely amazing, and nobody in Bangladesh has even commented on it. I would say even the Indian media has been quiet. I don't know why, because I remember this Chinmoy Das, who was coordinating the meetings of the minority communities in Bangladesh, and in one procession we had the Bangladesh flag, and a photographic image showed the Sanatani flag showing a little above. My gosh, there was such a hue and cry in the Bangladesh media. They wanted to lynch Chinmoy Das on that very point. And in fact, today on this showing the ISIS flag as superior to the Bangladesh flag, and nobody's commenting, is reflection of the Islamism that is being projected. But the reality on the ground is that 18 months down the road, I think people have turned their minds against Muhammad Yunus. The Jamaat-e-Islami thought they would benefit from immediate popularity.
Okay.
They have not. And I think their vote bank remains as shallow as it was before. There is, in fact, every evidence that the vote bank will again be divided between the BNP and the Awami League. And the Awami League vote bank of 35-40% seems more or less intact. So I think the only answer is to have free, fair, and inclusive elections. Let everybody be there. Let them be free and fair. And let anybody win. Whoever wins the election, they are reflecting the will of the people.
Okay.
The government of India has said they will be happy to deal with them.
Sushant, thank you for so patiently awaiting your turn. If I may finally bring you in, okay, that. Okay, so I want to ask you, as Ambassador very rightly touched upon the waving of this ISIS flag, it speaks 1,000 words. We already have credible evidence to establish that, say, the HUGB, the HUT, they are all in, trying to bring back an Al-Qaeda kind of model in, say, Bangladesh. What would this mean for our own border vulnerabilities?
Anja, I think it's pretty obvious what it will mean. It's going to destabilize our border regions. It's going to send in terrorism, and there's going to be a spike of terrorism. We saw insurgencies in the past before 2009 being fueled in the northeastern states through Bangladesh. There were terror groups which had received safe sanctuary in Bangladesh. And to Sheikh Hasina's credit, she came and dismantled all that terror infrastructure that had been built up over decades. So yes, I think she did a lot of good stuff, and I completely agree with what Salahuddin Saab is saying, that while she did all the good stuff and she did try to marginalize the Islamists, she also flirted with a certain section of them. Perhaps it was in part because she was trying to cut the movement in half. But whatever it might have been, whatever the motivations, you do not rear up some snakes so that they can bite other snakes. All snakes are the same, and you need to treat them the same way. And I think that was a strategic mistake she made. I think the strategic mistake India is making, I'm not entirely convinced. I'm sure Ambassador Sikri is going to lambast me for saying what I'm going to say. I don't know if what we are showing is strategic restraint or it's strategic paralysis. Because after all, the situation, and I'm not as sanguine, I've said this earlier, Ambassador Sikri and I have been kind of sparring over this issue.
Fortunately for you, Sushant Sareen, you're sitting in India, not in Bangladesh, so please go ahead.
Yeah. No, fortunately for both Ambassador Sikri and for me. But my point is that she is very optimistic that, the rest of the public will rise up and the voting will happen and forces of moderation will come through. I'm not entirely convinced that's what's going to happen. I also don't think that the kind of incidents we are seeing in Bangladesh signifies a lack of control. I suspect that this is something far more sinister. I think a lot of, look, for example, the killing of that Hindu man Dipu Das. He was in police custody. It wasn't as though it was a mob which came and, lynched him on the street.
And there's not a single testimony to establish the fact that he indulged in blasphemy.
Look, blasphemy is a red herring. You can accuse anybody of blasphemy and,
But nobody has, all my research states is that there's nobody who stepped forward to say that they heard something.
No. That's a completely irrelevant question, Akansha, because you can accuse anybody of blasphemy, because we see this in Pakistan every day. You accuse anybody of blasphemy, you collect a bunch of people, and you create an incident and you lynch the man. And a lot of these cases happen because you don't like somebody, there's a personal dispute, there is a property dispute, something or the other, and this is the simplest way of getting rid of your opponents. Now, I'm sure in Bangladesh there is also a religious motivation, which is why these people are targeted. But quite clearly, the fact that you can take out somebody from police custody and lynch him and burn him alive, it tells you a lot of what is happening. So it's not as simple as just a mob, an enraged mob going and carrying out, this kind of lynching. And this is not, as according to what the regime spokespersons are saying, that this is an isolated incident. This is not an isolated incident. There is documentation of the kind of pogroms that have been carried out against the Hindu community ever since over the last year and a half, or thereabouts.
Okay, Ambassador Veena Sikri, would you like to weigh in on that? Because if we go by the figures, just in 2025 alone, the Bangladesh Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, the Okya Parishad has reported 27 plus Dipu's death makes it 28. And since August of 2024, you're looking close to 2,450 deaths. What do you make of this, and should India intervene? What can India do, even if it has to intervene?
I think India has to come out very strongly against this. And the BBC and others, there's been documentation, there have been reports, it's been discussed at human rights conferences. I do not think we can let this just slip by. I think we should be very, very strong on this, because it is a reflection of the sheer barbarism of the regime and turning a blind eye. And Mohammed Yunus dismissing anybody who asked him the question, saying fake news from India. This time he couldn't do it on Dipu Chandra Das's case because there was such a furor about it, and that's why there should be a similar furor about others. We should call out the way in which the regime in Bangladesh has turned a blind eye. And the fact is that this time the younger generation of the minorities have said that we are staying in Bangladesh. This is our country, we are citizens, we want our rights. And Chinmoy Das had placed a very simple 8-point demand before the regime, saying, simply have a separate ministry, have various rights and so on. And there's no answer. There's no consideration of that at all. They want to show that they're not interested in the minorities. They would like the minorities to leave Bangladesh. But I think that if they don't take account of the minorities, they will soon know what could follow, and it won't be very nice.
Shoaib, I want to quickly bring you in on the aspect of the Pakistan ISI. We have credible information to establish the fact that an ISI cell is already operating out of the Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka. If Bangladesh and Pakistan are going to be looking at a strategic pact, the same on the lines that they have with Saudi Arabia, this is going to set a very dangerous precedent for India as well. It will have, it's also going to pose considerable strategic concerns for us. How much of an involvement can you see right now as far as Pakistan's ISI is concerned with the ongoing, extremist protests on the streets?
Akanksha, Pakistan succeeded in entering my country since last year jihadist coup, I should say.
Are you sure it was just last year, or they remained dormantly involved, say, with organizations like Jamatis?
They got the opportunity of entering my country with the agenda of destroying Bangladesh and taking revenge of 1971. And when I'm talking to you and Her Excellency and my fellow journalists, Susan Sarin, they all know that there are 5 offices openly operating in Dhaka city of ISI, and one office is called Dhaka Center in the Mahakali DOHS road number 5, where they are housing Paresh Barua. Yes, road number 5. I'm telling you very categorically. Mahakali, Her Excellency has been to Bangladesh, she knows the area. Mahakali DOHS, road number 5. Pakistan is not only patronizing and sponsoring local terrorists and radicals. I will post a video after some time. You will see that Pakistani ISI is giving training to ARSA, Rohingya, Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army. They are giving them training. They are giving them weapons. They are giving them explosives. So Pakistan is In one hand, by facilitating the local jihadis, they are preparing them to launch attack inside India, and by giving training to ARSA, actually Pakistan is creating the future demons for Myanmar and also China. Pakistan is a country which should never be trusted by any nation,
Okay.
because it always backstabs the nation it tries to make friendship. So whatever is happening in Bangladesh today, Pakistan ISI is only and exclusively responsible. And if you are asking me about the other US deep state, but Pakistani defense minister said that they execute the dirty work on behalf of US deep state, Britain and Europe. So Pakistan is doing everything. They want to take revenge from my country, because we Bengalis, the beauty and strength of us is Bengali nationalism that makes us distinctively different with the Pakistani.
Sushant Sareen, this is indeed going to pose a major strategic challenge to India, and not just strategic, but also in terms of trade. You're looking at connectivity. All of that is now going to go for a toss. Border vulnerability, something you just highlighted, but as Shoaib was also highlighting, the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army, which there's already much evidence to back the claims that Pakistan is backing this army. What could this mean, say, in terms of the strategic challenges that we will now see across the border?
Look, I think the strategic challenges are very clear. We've already have a Myanmar which is deeply disturbed, and now we have a Bangladesh which is deeply disturbed. So our entire eastern flank is in a sense destabilized. So quite clearly, some of
you're looking at 1.3 million refugees from the Rohingya camps who are going to be radicalized now.
Yeah, that's true. Look, more than the 1.3 million Rohingya refugees, I am looking at 180 million Bangladeshis who are going to be radicalized. I think that is a bigger concern as far as I am concerned. And what it means is that our entire eastern flank is now destabilized, or is getting destabilized very fast. So quite clearly, I think the normal channels of diplomacy, you can keep using them for whatever they are worth. But I suspect that we need to use some undiplomatic and perhaps extra diplomatic methods also, to make sure that we can counter some of the stuff which is going to be pouring down or pouring through our borders. We are seeing some of it in Manipur already, and we're trying to handle it with kid gloves. I think the time for kid gloves is getting over, and we really need to think this thing through. Because if you think that through just normal diplomatic channels you'll be able to address this, I think we have another thought coming.
Dr. Mohsin, your thoughts on the kind of undoing of history that we are seeing happen, that also requires, say, renaming of cultural centers. We've seen how Bangabandhu's hall that was dedicated in the university has been renamed. What do you make of this sort of radicalization on the ground level, and even if you look at changing of history?
Yeah, that's right. They want to redo this 1971. They want to undo the 1971. So Pakistan wants to take revenge against India and against the Bangladesh freedom fighters, against Sheikh Mujib, our Bangabandhu, father of the nation, and against Awami League Sheikh Hasina, who broke Pakistan and made independent Bangladesh with the help of India. And now, since they are in power, and Pakistan is heavily involved in Bangladesh politics and also in military, because few hundred Pakistani armed forces are in Bangladesh now. They are giving the training to the Bangladesh terrorists and giving arms and weapons. And in the name of supplying foods, they are bringing arms.
Right.
They are bringing drugs, and they are polluting Bangladesh with all these bad things. So they're changing the name of the hall, student hall, from Bangabandhu to Hadi. Hadi is a minor thing. I don't know why they are highlighting, or why they're making Hadi as a national hero. He is a terrorist.
Exactly my point, and I want to quickly give closing thoughts to Ambassador Sikri on that note. eulogizing a terrorist. And I want to bring you in on the aspect of Western hypocrisy over here, Ambassador Sikri, because you look at countries, even if I say I discount the United States, I discount Germany, but a time-tested ally like France is giving eulogies to a man like Hadi. Suddenly, all of these Western nations have forgotten about the human rights violations, the kind of vandalism that is being targeted against, say, monuments, all of these cultural centers. Not a word of condemnation coming in from any of these Western nations.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shocked at this, and I think one has to call out this hypocrisy, because a diplomat is supposed to be non-partisan. It's supposed to be absolutely non-partisan. You keep in touch with everybody, all the political parties. Here you have, Germany sending, flying the flag at half-mast. They're being so partisan. And the person who was till July last year was not known at all, and who has, just spent 18, he's rabidly anti-India. That's what he's known for in all his speeches. And you have, other Western embassies expressing condolences in glowing terms and so on. It's completely partisan. And why is it that they suddenly find that this Osman Hadi is worthy of all this partisan? And not a word from any of them about Deepu Chandra Das and the way he was treated and so on. So the comparison, the partisanship is absolutely shocking. I think it's high time we called it out. Because after this, you cannot imagine any of these countries telling India what they should do or should not do.
All right.
I think we have to call it out.
Many thanks to you, Ambassador Sikri, and the gentleman for joining in on the Brass Tacks. It was a pleasure having you and your insights on the show.